Everybody, it is Mike, 55 years young, with aPlantBasedDiet.org. I'm also putting this on my Mike Young Real Estate YouTube channel because this is where I use Toyota products, whether it's Toyota or Lexus. And I have in the past, but I've moved away from them, and I don't think I'm ever going back. Now, this analysis about whether Toyota quality is going down, which the answer is yes and no, is by this Car Care Nut channel. This guy specializes in Toyotas and Lexuses. He used to be a Toyota tech, and he opened his own independent shop. This guy has a wealth of knowledge, but you got to remember, he has to repair these cars. He's in the business of fixing these. I'm going to also throw in the EV perspective, which he doesn't really get into, but I'm going to get into it as it's very important here and very germane to why this whole dynamic is happening.
So is Toyota riding on their past kind of track record of reliability, and that is no longer the case today? It depends how you look at it and who you ask. And let's talk about both ends of the spectrum here, and I will also share with you my humble 2 cents as a former Toyota Master Diagnostic Technician and a current Toyota and Lexus specialty shop owner. This is all I work on. This is my lifetime career, and I only work on Toyota and Lexus. This is my specialty. So here's what I've seen with Toyota over.
All right. Well, let's also talk about the EVs first. He doesn't really talk about EVs much on his channel. They're very new to Toyota, and at least the first EVs that came out through Toyota were actually, I think, jointly developed with Subaru, so not a true Toyota. Toyota as a company, when I say that, I mean Toyota and Lexus, because it's the same company. Toyota makes Lexus products. It's their high end, if you're not aware. They've always shunned BEVs, battery electric vehicles, which are vehicles that are fully powered by electric batteries only. They've instead invested into hydrogen fuel cells, and they have flopped all over the place. They still think for some reason, even in 2025, it's going to be viable. I don't think so, but they've wasted a lot of time, a lot of money, and look at Tesla. Look how Tesla has risen to be the largest, I think, valued automaker in the world now, above Toyota, and they only make battery electric vehicles. So, all right, what's the other dynamic here that's going on, Mike? Let me tell you. The thing is, I think that battery electric is the future because there's so many less moving parts. Okay, so many less things that can go wrong. That's on one side is BEVs. The other side is internal combustion engines in 2025. They have more parts than ever, more systems than ever. They have to meet higher fuel economy standards than ever. They have to meet lower emissions than ever. And these things are not getting easier to meet. They're getting harder and harder and harder. We passed the point of no return, I'd say, in fact, because people think that new cars are a scam now. And I think that they are too. I think you should only ever buy used ICE engine vehicles, because the new ones are too complicated. The rates of the mechanics are like several $100s an hour. And they have so many things that break, and they do break. And they have many parts that they're getting cheap on, like instead of metal, instead of steel, instead of aluminum, they're making them out of plastic. They're breaking. There are so many parts in there, so much you have to remove just to get to one part. It's the end. It's almost like the internal combustion engine is suffocating itself to death. That's what I think. That's one of the big factors here. Like we're past the peak. I'd say the peak, and he'll describe it, I think, was probably in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s through maybe 2015, something like that.
For the years. In the 90s and the early 2000s, even up to mid-2000s, I mean, that was their prime. That was the prime of Toyota. On Lexus, equally, same thing. Toward the end of the 2000s...
You may wonder why I have this on aPlantBasedDiet.org. It's because we still use Toyota trucks and other stuff in our landscape, in our farm projects. They're still reliable, I think, in those renditions, the ones that we have, and we probably won't use them forever, but I do. And then Lexus, I kind of drive with the real estate business, but again, being phased out, and that's why this video is so important. I think this may be the peak for this guy's channel too, the Car Care Nut. He has an amazing channel, but he's only got a limited shelf life because, in my mind, Toyota does not have a sustainable business model. I also moved away from Honda before I moved away from Toyota for somewhat similar reasons.
Into the 2010s, there was a giant dip. I mean, things really came down.
Yeah, because of emissions controls.
That's the best part. Right around 2012, 2013, things sharply started to increase and get much better. But they never really got back to the level of the 90s and 2000s. And there's various reasons for that. Let's look at one end of things, which is Toyota itself. Folks, cars got more expensive, even back then.
That's the other thing.
And cost of materials got very expensive. And in order for them to build a car the same quality of the 90s and the 2000s, they would have been commanding a very high premium. That's the first problem. They had to stay competitive. So you notice that their quality in the things you touch and see, and like the interior, kind of, I call them.
Well, he's also saying that things have moved away from Japanese production. I've always noted with Japanese vehicles and other things that I've had that when they were built and assembled in Japan, they were of vastly superior quality. Now, there's lower quality of things built in the United States from Japanese parts or from American parts, but they're still acceptable. It's just not of the super high level. And it used to be that all these Toyotas and all these Lexuses were made in Japan only, but now only a few. And I think it's almost all Lexus cars. There may be a few Toyotas that are fully made in Japan, but most of them are made in the United States, or at least assembled in the United States.
The insignificant things, but to some folks, that is the number one thing. They dropped, but not in the important stuff. That is very important that we keep that in mind. But equally, there is something else that changed. In the 90s and 2000s, people got used to neglecting their Toyota and they just last. That's how they were designed.
I never did
that. They
that.
shifted from that at some point in the late 2000s and 2010s. And folks had problems because they continued in their old ways of, it's a Toyota, you can neglect it, it'll be fine. Well, that was not the case anymore. And that's how folks started with the...
Okay, it's not like people aren't changing the oil. What he's getting at here is all these emissions controls. These emissions controls that require maintenance, and when they don't work right, and I've experienced that on our own Lexus CT200, they will start to make the engine run poorly. And when the engine runs poorly, you can end up destroying the engine, like blowing head gaskets just because it's running rough, because the emissions controls they have to be cleaned out, like with chemicals and physical cleaning and all this stuff that you never used to have to do, like EGR systems. And yes, it is true that people don't change the coolant because they say it's a 100,000-mile coolant. That also contributes to head gaskets. So I would say people are still changing the oil. They're not doing the coolant, and they're not maintaining these ridiculously complex and finicky emissions control systems. By the way, none of this is on battery electric vehicles. None of it.
The Toyota quality is going down. Let's go into the next section where we kind of...
And one of the reasons why, too, they're not doing this is because of the cost, because of the hundreds of dollars per hour that the techs get. It's just so much money for the average person. It's in the past, like the 90s, early 2000s, people could afford it. People can't really afford that anymore, and they just take a risk, and they just hope it's not going to break.
Dive into it a little bit more. It seems like a lot of things changed with the major world event that happened around 2019 and 2020. So let's talk about Toyota after that event. Let's put it this way. It has been a while, like I would say right around toward the end of the 2010s, that Toyota is changing, trying to change their image. They're trying to go from this boring A to B car that's just reliable, and very bland and boring, into exciting, reliable cars. That change is difficult because it is not in their core DNA, folks. They've never really made exciting cars.
I would agree with him there because everyone said that Toyota is the equivalent of an automotive appliance. That's how the reputation has been. Now, whether trying to make exciting cars has meant that the quality's gone down, I don't think so. I think he's ignoring the influence of battery electric vehicles because of his vested interest in the shop that he owns.
And they're experimenting. The biggest problem is Toyota is the kind of company, believe it or not, you might not believe it, but I see it because I didn't work directly for them before a dealership and kind of see their internal culture. They listen, they watch. You say something on the internet, they will watch it, and they will listen, and they will take it into consideration. That's just how their internal culture works. So they started noticing that a lot of folks were speaking out about how boring their cars are. Okay, well, let's change into not boring cars. And in some aspects, they actually did very well. Their cars got better looking. Their cars got better handling, better driving. They felt like they were not just some blob driving down the street that reliably. They started to have a little bit of character. They did that pretty well. But as a byproduct of that, there's a very easy tendency to get carried away.
I don't know about that. I know that they designed certain models like their trucks specifically for the U.S. market, and they've also done a lot of the engineering, not just the styling, in the U.S. for the U.S. market. And some people have pointed out, this guy's not saying it, but that means they are no longer a Japanese engineered product, which is what got Toyota their great quality reputation to begin with. So just consider that. Most of the time, you're going to have that trade-off there. I don't know. You design a product for the American market. American car manufacturers traditionally have had a reputation of super low quality, and then guess what? Toyota quality and Lexus quality goes down. Do you see what I'm talking about?
I'm noticing a tendency of getting carried away from them lately. Gimmicks. We all love
Like
gimmicks.
What? I wonder what
the
gimmicks
first
he's
week we
talking
buy
about.
a new car, and then we turn them off and forget about them.
I don't think he even brings examples.
See, things are getting expensive in 2024. And the reason for that is gimmicks. Because let me ask you one thing, and majority of folks will write this in the comments, but do you really mean it? I want you to think about it before you comment this. Would you buy a car that has no safety systems, no modern touches, no electric power steering, no infotainment, no power windows, no power locks, no lock unlock to unlock the car, just a key you put it in the door?
Okay, he's not talking about gimmicks. Anti-lock brakes and airbags are not gimmicks. Air conditioning is not a gimmick. I know that some of the Hondas used to come with no radios and no air conditioning. A lot of the Toyotas did too. It was a dealer installed option back in the 80s and the early 90s. But I would buy a car with roll-up hand crank windows, hand roll-up windows. I would, but they just don't make them because the stuff's so inexpensive to do nowadays. And I wouldn't call those things gimmicks. I don't know. I thought he was getting at something that just showed up recently in the last 10 or 15 years, but none of these things have showed up in the last 10 or 15 years. They've been around forever. So I don't really know what he's talking about. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Door and open it. Would you buy a car like that in 2024? Of course, the price will reflect that, but would you? Because the overwhelming majority wouldn't. So folks want the features in cars.
He didn't make the point
don't
there.
get me wrong, I like them too. Not all of them. Majority of them are gimmicks, but some features are actually nice. That's why cars are getting expensive. And on top of that, they're trying to shift into making their cars more expensive. The more you add to a car, the more chance of things going south.
Yeah.
It's a simple recipe.
Keep in mind,
when you don't have a component,
he's about to talk about what Elon Musk talks about, but all these things that he's talking about, they're all in the battery electric vehicles too. And why is it that they're so much more reliable? It's because they don't have these ridiculous internal combustion engines. That's why. He is kind of denying the fact of what's actually going on. I know he's also got a very successful YouTube channel. He's got an audience that listens to him, and they're definitely more old school. They're not EV people, but I just need to convey the truth to you all here, and he's kind of missing that.
There's a 100% chance that that component will not break. But when you have 15 components that are not really essential to the basic function of the car, there is 15 more chances of things going south because of.
Yeah, but he gives no examples of this. One example from Tesla is the rear suspension. A lot of Tesla models do not, like mine, don't include any adjustments for camber or tow on the rear suspension. And the same reason is why he said, because you have less parts, less moving parts, less things that can break. You just have one fixed thing instead of one adjustable thing, which has a lot more parts and ways to break it. And he's not giving any examples of stuff here. And I'm telling you, the extra parts, the moving parts, they're not specific to Toyota or Lexus. They're not specific to any cars. They're in all cars, including battery electric vehicles. What's happening is these engines and these transmissions and these fuel economy mandates and these low emissions mandates are making the manufacturers build overly complicated power plants and drivetrains that they don't want to build, and they're going to end up running themselves out of business if they stay in the space, if you ask me.
Of it. That's the basic premise of that. And that's what they...
He gives no examples. Again, I don't think he's going to give any examples, but think about this for a minute. Have you ever seen a check engine light come on a battery electric vehicle? No, because there is no engine. But that comes on all the time on the ICE cars, and it comes on all more and more. And it's a mystery, and it's so complicated. And that's what he's talking about. I wish he would just say it.
Started to really get into post the major event of 19 and 20. Do you see where this is going? Things are getting a lot more complicated now. And that's what leads us to the next section.
He's trying to blame COVID for the problem here. Again, I think he's got an audience that's sympathetic. They're more old school. But this is not what's going on. Not.
What about the past 2 years? Let's talk about the last 2 years. This is the way I see it. Right now, if you go research on Toyotas, quality is going down. They're done. It's over. It's just a matter of time. Really? Is it? But let's talk about one thing. The only thing you'll read about Toyota online over the last 2 years, give or take, is Tundra engine. Tacoma has horrible problems. This has a problem. This has a problem. This has a problem.
He's right about Toyota, Tacoma, and Tundra. I have a Tacoma. I got one of the last V6s. In case you want to know, Tacoma is a smaller truck. Tundra is a larger truck. Tacoma used to be almost exclusively V6 engines. Tundra used to be almost exclusively, and it was at the end, all V8 engines. People like those. Truck people like those. Toyota had to switch over to turbocharged V6s for Tundra and turbocharged 4-cylinders for Tacoma only. And of course, they have all kinds of manufacturing issues. They're way more complicated than their basic larger engines were. They're smaller, more emissions controls, turbochargers to boost the power output. Engines are failing. Consumers don't like them. What is this telling you? It's telling you that they need to switch over to something aside from internal combustion engines, because this is going to keep going like this and people don't like it. They got to go battery electric vehicle, and he's not even going to mention it here, I don't think.
Problem. And you notice majority of these revolve around two cars of their very long lineup. The Toyota Tundra and the Toyota Tacoma. You don't really hear others saying other stuff, other car owners within the Toyota lineup. Few things that flare up here and there, but they never create quite the buzz these two do. And let me share with you.
It's because they took away the V8 engine in the Tundra and the V6 in the Tacoma, and people like those types of engines. And it's becoming near impossible for Toyota or any manufacturer to offer them anymore and meet the mandated air quality and fuel economy requirements.
With you something. This is going to offend some folks, but you know what? If the truth offends you, apologies in advance. But that's what I see. The truck community is one of the loudest community in any car manufacturer. They usually have the strongest opinions. They are the hardest folks to.
Also, they don't want to do battery electric. The traditional truck community does not want to do battery electric. They want their V8s and their V6s. That's what he's getting at. But guess what? This guy's not telling you the truth, unfortunately. He's not even going to say that.
Please. And they usually,
I don't think anyway.
This is, again, they have the least loyalty to the brand. Let's talk about the Toyota Tundra for a second, because it's just, I don't understand this.
Yeah, and you should. This will be good for you to hear if you're not familiar with the big problems, the recalls, the blowing up of engines. He's going to explain it here, hopefully.
First generation Toyota Tundra. It replaced the T100, which is a great truck today because it's old. But back in the day, nobody bought it. That's okay. No worries.
The T100 didn't. Yeah.
Usually, car manufacturers measure their success based on how many cars they sell, not how many folks write about it on the internet.
Also, consider that Toyota is very, very conservative manufacturer. They introduced a T100 as kind of testing out the almost full-size, like 7/8 full-size market, and they did not offer a V8. They did not, and that's why it didn't sell. If you want to know why it didn't sell, that's why. Then I got it. Mine had a V8. Problem is, it's a damn gas guzzler, for sure. I hated having to fill that up. It sounded great, and it was super smooth and super reliable, but thirsty on fuel. But let's see what he has to say.
They need to sell cars. So, first generation Tundra. When it was new, here's what folks said about it. It's too small. It's not a real truck.
7/8.
Doesn't tow a lot. Doesn't have a lot of power.
That's because Toyota, to make their vehicles reliable, cuts the power output, limits the maximum power, and they don't invest in fuel economy things that the other manufacturers do, and makes their engines way less reliable.
Doesn't have any features. It is ugly. It's this and that. Okay, no worries. So Toyota, what did they do? They made the big Tundra, second generation Tundra, which...
They did a great job making it bigger for traditional truck buyers. They did.
At the time when it came out, it was such a cheap, plasticky car. That was right in that period where things were going downhill. But they had so many problems with it.
Yeah, but people really love those trucks, I'm telling you, because they had those V8s. They had two of them, a 4.7 and a 5.4, and they were they're legendary reliability, those two engines.
To a point where folks were like, oh my God, this thing is not good. We wish we had the old reliable one, because the old reliable one was a very good...
I'm just telling you, what he's saying is not right. The second generation Tundra was very, very reliable, maybe even more reliable, I think. It just wasn't like super luxurious like he's saying, but that's not what the Toyota buyer wanted, I don't think.
Toyota. Then things got better with the second generation Tundra. And it got great.
Yep.
People were happy.
Yep.
Then people were not happy because it doesn't ride well. It's not a real truck. It doesn't have good gas mileage. It doesn't have any...
Yeah, it doesn't ride well. It didn't have good gas mileage. He's correct about
features. It's not comfortable. It's not really a family car. You can't really dual use it. It sags and the frame flexes and the frame rusts and it does all that and it has no features. Okay.
The big problems with frames rusting, that's for sure. For sure.
The third generation Tundra. This time,
this is the one we
immediately, within the first year, said the old one is better.
Yep.
Because, which is somewhat valid, they have problems with it because they had to accommodate everything and everybody. They made a very technologically advanced truck that could tow a lot. There's actually a nice truck and a functional one at the same time, but they had issues. And oh my God, did they get the wrong car wrong. And that's why you hear about it all over the place. Because let me ask you one question.
Here's what this guy is saying. The power plant isn't reliable. Power plant is too complex. The power plant, the engine, has too many things that can go wrong, and they do go wrong. No T100 or Tundra ever had those problems. These are new problems. And the reason why is because of all the mandates from the government.
Beyond the trucks. How about the RAV4, Camry, Corolla, Sienna, Highlander? All these are no good, not important. Why do you still have to wait for months to get a Sienna and people are lined up to buy one? I don't know. I guess only the Tundra is important. That's the problem, folks. That is the real problem here.
Look, if electric vehicle manufacturers start building well-designed minivans, there will be no line for Siennas. They're going to lose all their customers. I can tell you that right now. The electric version would be so much better. I know that Volkswagen makes a very small van right now, but you'll see. It'll happen, and you'll see what the change is once those vehicles are released.
So let's do something. Let us summarize what I see. This is my humble 2 cents coming up about the good, the bad, and the ugly with Toyota over the last few years here. Here's the good about Toyota currently. They're still the same company with their methods and ways. And it always makes everybody wonder that really look beyond the...
I'd agree. Same company, same methods, same ways, but he's not saying the obvious, which is they've shifted production from the 1980s, which was exclusively in Japan, to almost exclusively in the United States. And the quality of the individual parts is not the same.
Loud noise. I mean, if we look at the frame situation, well, they had issues with the frames. All manufacturers have issues with frames and rust.
True.
But which is the only company that actually decided, well, let's just replace the frames at a giant cost?
Toyota did.
Toyota did. And as a technician at the time when we were replacing the frames, it always made me wonder, it's like, are they ever going to mind spending this much on trucks that are neglected? That's why they're rotten? But they did that because they care about their image and reputation. Some folks will say it's a lawsuit, it's this and that. Fine.
If you want to know about the frame rust, what you have to do is put some of that spray oil on your undercarriage after washing it clean before the winter season in cold climates. But they don't tell you to do that as part of the maintenance. He says it's neglect. They really should tell you to do that if that's what's required. Fluid film, I believe, is fluid film is what it's called. Sorry, let me get back to starting to back up again. There we go.
But why is other manufacturers don't do that? That's all I'll ask you. I'll leave you with that one. And then in the current times, the Tundra engine, oh my God, the Tundra engine, the LX, I don't even want to get into it. It's very loud right now. Guess what they're doing? They're replacing not only the affected ones, which would be something that makes sense. Okay, your engine has an issue, we'll replace it, we're good. No, they're replacing all of them. That is a very good sign.
What they're saying is that there's engine debris that was not cleaned out during the manufacturing process, and that basically grenaded the engine by circulating through the oil system. Others are saying Toyota doesn't recommend changing the oil real fast, like within the first few hundred miles, but you should, and I've always done that on new engines. They say wait till 5 or 10,000. They say the oil's too thin. They say that you need to make the oil changes more frequent, all of which are valid things. So, and then the other thing is that maybe the bearings aren't designed to carry the kind of stress that are happening in these smaller engines that are overpowered with these turbochargers. So if that's what it is, there's no fixing it.
Right. That the Toyota way is still alive and well. And that, if they lose that.
Oh, and by the way, the thin oils like the 0W20s are required to meet fuel economy standards and emission standards. So that's not going away, and that's only for that reason. They would never use such lightweight, thin oils, but they have to, and this is not an issue with battery electric vehicles.
We have a major problem, but there's no indications that they are. And that is something, because if they mess things up, because nobody is perfect ever. They were never perfect. But that indicates when we mess things up, we're going to try our best to make it right.
They do try their best. They try their best, but they're set up to fail. Anybody who builds internal combustion engine vehicles in the United States is set up to fail these days. Those things are being phased out because of these regulations.
That is a good thing. Here's the bad. So Toyota's going what I describe it, in my humble 2 cents, growing pains. They're listening to people.
I don't know about that.
Sometimes I wish.
How about failure pains? It's a red flag that things are going down.
They would limit how much they listen to people and just stick to their core values. They're trying to shift their cars into more exciting, more soulful cars. And the byproduct of that is gimmicks. Their cars are slow.
Like what? I'd love to hear the gimmicks he's talking about. So far, he has given no examples of legitimate, recently introduced gimmicks that Toyota has or Lexus has.
Filling with gimmicks. Those gimmicks add a lot of complication.
Like
and
what?
This complication, in some people's eyes, will equal.
Keep in mind, it's not gimmicks. It's required things that the regulators say have to be done to your engines in order to make them sellable in the U.S. Those are the gimmicks. They're not gimmicks. They are government mandates.
Unreliability. But the problem is they are getting a little bit carried away with the gimmicks, especially in their core models. Not everything, but in the models that will generate the most buzz.
Right.
They're getting carried away with these gimmicks, and that's going to affect reliability, because the more you have, the more chances of things will go south. Simple recipe with cars that never changed over the time. And the best part is the core Toyota buyer, the one that does not research, does not watch a review, not part of the group, not writing essays about.
Yeah, and like I said, those Sienna buyers, as soon as you have a reliable, well-designed minivan that's battery electric, like Tesla may make one, goodbye Sienna buyers. They have no loyalty.
Them on the internet and making giant videos just to get views. They are not really interested in the over gimmicks. Yeah, they want the car to look a little nicer. Maybe a few modern features. Yeah, that screen is nice. You know, you can connect and listen to your radio. Apple CarPlay is nice. Some of the safety features, adaptive
A radio and Apple CarPlay are not gimmicks that are going to break, by the way.
cruise control, it's nice features we can live with, but boys are out there, we don't really care. Those folks are gonna be concerned when you can't buy base models, real.
You already can't. I have a Toyota Tacoma 2016 SR, which was the base model. It even had some appearance package on it. That's all I could get. I was trying to get a base model, but the base models have everything you need. It's exactly the same power plant, exactly the same safety systems. There's no reason to go up, but there's also no base model anymore because the base price of these cars and trucks is so expensive. There can't really be one anymore. And the amount of regulations that they have to meet that they don't want to have to be bothered with is ridiculous.
Base models. But again, I will ask you this question one more time. Would you buy a car in 2024 with manual windows and no power locks and just manual transmission and everything is manual?
I would love that. I think most people would love that. The person that doesn't want to even be bothered with driving, which is most people, which is why autonomous driving is very, very, very close. That's why you don't see those things anymore. But the person who just wants to drive a basic car that's safe, reliable, and fuel efficient, they can't really do that anymore. Those products aren't available.
Not many folks will, because if they did, they would still make them. There's no emission regulation that the car has to have power windows. Not really. So that is the problem.
I don't see. He's saying power windows is a gimmick. Those things don't break. I have a Toyota and I have a Lexus. Those things don't break. It's the power plant. It's the engine.
That's the bad part. Who are they really listening to? Listening to the folk that will tell you they need to do all this stuff over and over and over, and then they goes and buys a BMW? What's going on here? Who are they listening to? And the worst thing about Toyota right now, something that is truly concerning and is concerning a lot of folks, and they are very right about the prices. See,
For everybody.
Here's the wave of things. Cars are getting expensive. Inflation is also affecting, but I noticed Toyota leading the pack in very expensive cars. Adding all these gimmicks and all these features and all this stuff and trying to be cool has a side effect of gimmicks, but they also...
It's not gimmicks. Every car, even a Hyundai, has the same features nowadays. Even a Kia has the same features. It's just marketing. It's marketing and styling and engineering in the United States instead of Japan. That's what's causing the problem. They're over-styling, over-marketing. It's all just marketing. Marketing is all fake anyway. All people want is the reliability, if you ask me. That should be the number one reason to buy any particular car. And you can't do it with internal combustion engine cars anymore. All new cars are a scam, thanks to your government.
It has a side effect of getting these cars very expensive. Because I feel like Toyota will outcompete themselves out of their core buyers. Because their cars are simply too expensive. They're becoming like this image thing that you buy.
And you'll be able to find that you can make a less complex vehicle for a lot less money, aka Tesla. Much more simple, better driving, safer, less repairs, less money. So Toyota is about to fall off a cliff, really.
Isn't that kind of the opposite of what the whole point of a Toyota is? I hope that part makes sense. The cars are getting so expensive, unbelievably so. They're almost like this is where they're using their reliability and longevity and all that to raise the prices, and people will buy them, they'll be fine. That's not good.
No. It's all styling, it's all gimmicks, and they're trying to pivot around because hydrogen fuel cells didn't work out for them. And if they can't figure something out, they are just going to go. They're going to lose so much market share and company value. It's insane, in my opinion.
That's starting to be a real problem. And the next thing is dealerships. They are the last manufacturer to push on their dealerships. Guys, you can't be overcharging for these cars. You're hurting our reputation of honesty.
Toyota dealers have always been like this. Honda and Toyota, the worst problem with buying new vehicles or even used ones from them has been the dealership experience. That's the thing about Tesla. They don't have any independent dealers. Honda and Toyota, everybody's owned independently by a third party. Tesla, no third party people at all. Everything's owned by the corporation, the company, and the price is the price. And Toyota's realizing that the more people that wake up and realize this about Tesla and how good the experience of buying is, they don't know what to do because they've got this whole extra layer of management, those dealer networks that Tesla doesn't have.
From my professional opinion, I don't think the reliability is coming down. I mean, they have the whole Tundra disaster. I like that they're doing things the Toyota way and taking.
He's lying here, okay? I'm just going to have to say it because the power plants, the engine, the reliability has absolutely come down. That's why I say new cars are a scam. When I say it, I mean internal combustion engine cars and trucks. The cost of repairing, the cost of parts, the frequency of breaking of all these systems and required mandates by the government is outrageous and out of control and completely unsustainable. And this guy's kind of caught in the middle. And he has an audience on his YouTube channel, but he's still caught in the middle. It's not going to last that much longer, if you ask me. I mean, I own these cars, but my cars are old now. My cars are 10 and 13 years old. 13-year Lexus, 10-year Toyota. And I'm not replacing them with new Toyotas, no way. Or even a more recent Toyota. It would be a used version around the same vintage at best, but nothing newer. Unless it's battery electric, that's the only way.
Care of folks, although that doesn't even start to cover the frustration of folks that are affected, which I get. But at least things are moving in the right direction. I'm not concerned about reliability and their quality going down. I'm mostly concerned about their prices and that mentality of, oh, we can just raise the prices, people will buy these cars. That's not
quality is going down. Let me just give you an example of my Tacoma V6 engine that I have built in the United States in Alabama. They have problems with leaking gaskets on the timing covers. And it's because of an assembly issue. It's because of quality. This never used to happen with Japanese-built engines. Like my Toyota Tundra never had this issue. And the engine was built in Japan, brought over to the United States, and assembled. These engines, more recent, even the V6s, which are higher quality than the 4 cylinders you buy today, they're all assembled in the United States, and there's definitely issues. It's not the same level of quality. This guy is not telling you the truth.
good. That's a really bad part. And on top of that, not clamping on the dealers to stop overcharging for cars. Not all dealers do them, but enough do them to really start hurting the brand. People will just look at it, well, do you think you are this very special brand on top of the hill that are so expensive? Well, we'll go buy something else.
Toyota has had that arrogant attitude at the dealers for as long as I can remember, and I'm 55. I mean, this is nothing new.
That's the problem. I think that is the biggest problem for Toyota right now, in my humble 2 cents. And folks, in closing, I will leave you with a small thought here. For you, food for thought, from humble opinion here. Toyotas are very high maintenance cars. And this will make some folks, are you?
It's because of the emissions control systems and all the computerization of these spinning ridiculous number of parts, internal combustion engines and turbochargers and everything else. That's why. Not even once did he say that in this video. I wish he would have.
Are you serious right now? Yes, I am.
Yep.
They've always been high maintenance cars. They love their maintenance. And they really require it.
It's not true. If you look back at my Tundra from 2000, almost all Toyotas used to have timing belts. And yeah, that was high maintenance because you had to go in and change the timing belt every so often. And the tensioners, they didn't last forever. They would break and destroy your engine. Nowadays, almost all Toyotas and Lexuses have timing chains. I don't think they make any timing belts anymore. So you figure, oh, less maintenance than ever. No, because you got all these emissions controls, all these turbochargers and everything else that you never used to have. So they could have made them. They could have done timing change back in the day, but even that wasn't like it is today. Now you have these check engine lights coming on all the time that didn't used to happen in the past. And notice he didn't even one time say that in this video.
Big requirement for them to last long. Now, some other brands are also the same way, but some, even if you maintain them, they won't last. They're not meant to last. But that recipe with Toyota is exactly the same. The only thing that changed, they used to be more neglect tolerant. They are not anymore. That is one thing that changed.
Why? It's because of the government mandates. He doesn't even say it once. I wish he would just tell the truth. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.
Here's the biggest problem with Toyota. It actually comes from the outside, not from the inside. See, I told you that Toyota in the 90s and 2000s, things were at the top. But you know what also was at the top? People caring for their car.
Right.
That was the peak period of people getting involved with their cars. People had no...
Labor rates weren't that much money. Parts weren't that high. They could afford to do it. People can't afford to do that anymore. Another reason why BEVs, battery electric vehicles, are going to take over, and Toyota and Lexus may just completely implode and dramatically reduce their market share, kind of like the American car companies did in the 1980s. They just lost so much market share.
No problem going at 30,000 miles and spending a fortune to maintain the car.
It wasn't a fortune.
Spark plugs, wires, timing belt, fluid.
It wasn't a fortune because the labor rates were so much lower.
Every single fluid got replaced at every 30,000 miles, and people did it on time. Nobody complained. This is the price of admission for this car to last 20, 30 years, and here we are.
But the thing is, the manufacturers know that the owners are not going to do all this stuff. They know they can't afford it. They just can't. They need to design a product that fits with how people are going to actually use them and maintain them, and they can't. They're stuck holding the bag. The only way to go is battery electric vehicle. It's the only way to go.
20, 30 years later, and they're still here. Today, there seems to be a race for people or competition who can neglect their car the best and come up with 101 reasons why that is a good idea. And one of those reasons are there's advancements in modern technology and...
Well, battery electric vehicles require almost no maintenance. Just keep that in mind.
Fluids have changed, engines are broken down, and they're high tolerance engines, they can last. Well, let me break it down to you in the old mechanic fashion. Nothing have changed.
Let me also say that only well-designed battery electric vehicles fit that description, well-designed. And there are not that many of them. Okay, so Tesla's one for sure, but there aren't that many others right now.
Full stop. People are not taking care of their cars.
Right.
Not taking care of their Toyotas like they're supposed to. And what is adding the worst thing, and this is another part I'll put on Toyota, the way they are marketing these cars these days, they're marketing them as a low-maintenance car. They are not low-maintenance.
I haven't seen that. I have not seen marketing like that. Have you?
Maintenance cars, they need their maintenance, and it needs a lot of it. And actually, just by the way they've advanced, this maintenance have gotten less, but it's still, there is a lot of it to be done. But the problem is they're marketing things as, oh, it's zero maintenance, lifetime transmission fluid, coolant, 150,000 miles, oil change, 10,000 miles. Is it really?
People don't want to be bothered. They know that their customers don't want to be bothered. That's why they know they're losing them to well-designed battery electric vehicle companies like Tesla. This is why it's happening. He's not connecting the dots, unfortunately, or on purpose not connecting them.
That's not the case. Because if you follow an old Toyota maintenance guide, you will have the exact same results. But folks are not doing that. And they're blaming it on Toyota. They do have a blame.
It's true. That part is true, what he's saying, because no one's going to do this. It's not going the other way. People don't want to be bothered with car maintenance. They don't. And that's why internal combustion engine will die, and you're going to be stuck driving battery electric vehicles. And what's that going to mean for Toyota and Lexus? They're going to be in big trouble financially. Because
they are marketing it so. That's the bottom line. Nothing has changed, folks. You take care of your car properly, it will take care of.
Yeah, but he's not blaming the blowing up of engines of Tundras and the blowing up of engines of Tacomas on this. He's not, because it's not a maintenance issue. I get what he's saying on one hand, but that's not so much of what's going on with Toyota and Lexus right now. It's only a small amount.
For a few. That was the recipe for Toyotas to last long. That is the exact same recipe today. Just move past that marketing stuff, go back to the old school ways, properly maintain your Toyota, and we're not going to have an issue. Granted, it is not a Tundra with an engine that just decides to explode, because that is an actual problem.
All right, well, let's end it here. you're going to be hearing about a lot of engines exploding because of what the reasons I said here. I wish that this guy, the car care nut, would talk about this. I'll put the link down below so you can watch the video if you want and subscribe to his channel if you got the old school stuff like I do, but I'm not replacing mine with other stuff. No way. Those days are over. We have all moved on, and nobody wants to go back to doing all that kind of stuff. And Toyota is in the wrong place at the wrong time. Same with Lexus. And they have kind of put the nails in their own coffin because they have purposely kept away from battery electric vehicles. And let me know what you think. I think that they're in big trouble and it's only going to get worse in the near future. Let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.